Attack and fear, the only answer. Remember that the right mind is the answer, not the question. The ego always speaks first because it is capricious and does not mean its maker well. That is because it believes, and correctly, that its maker, you, may withdraw its support from it at any moment. If it meant you well, it would be glad, as the right mind will be glad when it has brought you home and you no longer need its guidance. The ego does not regard itself as part of you. Herein lies its primary perceptual error, the foundation of its whole thought system. When the All created you, it made you part of it. That is why attack within the idea of the self we share is impossible. You made the ego without love, and so it does not love you. You could not remain within the idea of the self we share without love. And since the idea of the self we share is love, you believe that you are without it. This enables the ego to regard itself as separate and outside its maker, thus speaking for the part of your mind that believes you are separate and outside the mind of the All. The ego then raised the first question that was ever asked, but one which it can never answer. That question, what are you, was the beginning of doubt. The ego has never answered any questions since, although it has raised a great many. The most inventive activities of the ego have never done more than obscure the question, because you have the answer, and the ego is afraid of you. You cannot understand the conflict until you fully understand one basic fact that the ego does not know. The right mind does not speak first, but it always answers. Everyone has called upon the right mind for help at one time or another and in one way or another, and has been answered. Since the right mind answers truly, it answers for all time, which means that everyone has the answer now. The ego cannot hear the right mind, but it does believe that part of the same mind that made it is against it. It interprets this as a justification for attacking its maker. It believes that the best defense is attack, and wants you to believe it. Unless you do believe it, you will not side with it. And the ego feels badly in need of allies, though not of brothers. Perceiving something alien to itself in your mind, the ego turns to the body, not the mind, as its ally, because the body is not part of you. This makes the body the ego's friend. It is an alliance, frankly, based on separation. If you side with this alliance, you will be afraid, because you are siding with an alliance of fear. The ego and the body conspire against your minds, and because the ego realizes that its enemy can end them both merely by knowing they are not part of it, they join in the attack together. This is perhaps the strangest perception of all if you consider what it really involves. The ego, which is not real, attempts to persuade the mind, which is real, that the mind is its own learning device, and that the learning device is more real than it is. No one in their right mind could possibly believe this, and no one in their right mind does believe it. Here then, the one answer of the right mind to all the questions which the ego raises. You are an extension of the All, a priceless part of the idea of the self we share, which the All created as part of the All. Nothing else exists, and only this is real. You have chosen a sleep in which you have had bad dreams, but the sleep is not real, and the All calls you to awake. There will be nothing left of your dream when you hear the All, because you will be awake. Your dreams have contained many of the ego symbols, and they have confused you. Yet that was only because you were asleep and did not know. When you awake, you will see the truth around you and in you, and you will no longer believe in dreams because they will have no reality for you. Yet the idea of the self we share and all that you have created there will have great reality for you, because they are beautiful and true. In the idea of the self we share, where you are and what you are is perfectly certain. There is no doubt there, because the first question was never asked. Having finally been wholly answered, it has never been. Being alone lives in the idea of the self we share. where everything lives in the all without question. The time that was spent on questioning in the dream has given way to creation and to its eternity. You are as certain as the all because you are as true as the all is. But what was once quite certain in your minds has become only the ability for certainty. The introduction of abilities into being was the beginning of uncertainty because abilities are potentials, not accomplishments. Your abilities are totally useless in the presence of the all's accomplishments, and also of yours. Accomplishments are results which have been achieved. When they are perfect, abilities are meaningless. It is curious that the perfect must now be perfected. In fact, it is impossible. You must remember, however, that when you put yourselves in an impossible situation, you believed that the impossible was possible. Abilities must be developed, or you cannot use them. This is not true of anything that the all created, but it is the kindest solution possible to what you have made. In an impossible situation, you can develop your abilities to the point where they can get you out of it. You have a guide, which is the right mind, to how to develop them, but you have no commander except yourself. This leaves you in charge of the idea of the self we share with both a guide to find it and a means to keep it. You have a model to follow which will strengthen your command and never detract from it in any way. You therefore retain the central place in your perceived enslavement, a fact which itself demonstrates that you are not enslaved. You are in an impossible situation only because you thought it was possible to be in one. You would be in an impossible situation if the all showed you your perfection and proved to you that you were wrong. This would demonstrate that the perfect were inadequate to bring themselves to the awareness of their perfection and thus side with the belief that those who have everything need help and are therefore helpless. This is the kind of reasoning in which the ego engages. But the all, which knows that its creations are perfect, does not insult them. This would be as impossible as the ego's notion that it has insulted the all. That is why the right mind never commands. To command is to assume inequality, which the right mind demonstrates does not exist. Fidelity to premises is a law of mind, and everything the all created is faithful to its laws. Fidelity to other laws is also possible, however, not because the laws are true, but because you made them. What would be gained if the all proved to you that you have thought insanely? Can the all lose its own certainty? We have frequently stated that what you teach, you are. Would you have the all teach you that you have sinned, that you are in lack without love? If the all confronted the self you made with the truth, the all created for you, what could you be but afraid? You would doubt your sanity, which is the one thing in which you can find the sanity the all gave you. The all does not teach. To teach is to imply a lack, which the all knows is not there. The all is not conflicted. Teaching aims at change, but the all created only the changeless. The separation was not a loss of perfection, but a failure in communication. A harsh and strident form of communication arose as the ego's voice. It could not shatter the peace of the all, but it could shatter yours. The all did not blot it out, because to eradicate it would be to attack it. Being questioned, the all did not question. The all merely gave the answer. His answer is your teacher, your right mind.